Hi, it's Pip here from queenpipcards.com. Hope you're well today. Today I am sharing with you a card made with the new Lilypad Lake clear mount stamp set. Not a set, I have to say, that first attracted me, but then a good friend of mine was on stage doing some demonstrations with it and I fell in love with it, so it's all Emma's fault. But doesn't that seem to be the way that you see something and you go, yeah, not for me really, and then you see somebody else doing something and think, oh wow, that's an amazing stamp set, and that's exactly what happened to me. So I'm making my team swaps for team training this weekend and I thought I would share them with you. So this is what I'm making. And it's just a very simple card, probably one of my, actually for me, one of my most complicated cards, because you need to mask and do all kinds of things, but actually it looks really simple, so that's still within my style. And I just wanted to show you that you can use some quite cool techniques even if your style is clean and simple, because techniques are great for creating different ideas with stamps, but it doesn't have to take away from your style. So if you're not somebody who particularly likes clean and simple, you probably want to switch off now, but you might enjoy the technique that I'm going to be doing for masking and colouring it in. So, or at least you can admire the new lovely colours that we're using. But if you're like me and you like clean and simple, but you want something that might just take a little bit extra time, not too much, but just a little bit to show off your skills, then this is the card for you. So we'll put that down there. First of all, what do you need? So obviously you need the stamps from Lilypad Lake, and the stamps that I'm using are this Thinking of You. I'm using this watery squiggly line, although I think it could be anything. Could be brushes, could be all kinds of things. And then I'm using a selection of Write markers and a blender pen. I'm also using the Lilypad itself, the Lilypad image, and then I'm using, as I say, these colours. So these are 3 new colours and a return a current in colour. So we have some really soft colours working together here, apart from this one. This is my new favourite, Granny Apple. I'm going to have a new favourite every week because I love all of them. This is Granny Apple Green, this is Soft Seafoam, this is Balmy Blue, and this is Powder Pink, which is one of the current in colours, the 2018 to 2020 in colours. This is a blender pen, not to be mixed up with Stampin' Blends. I have a lot of people who are mixing the two up at the moment. This is not an alcohol marker. This is just something that helps you move water ink around, okay? And then I have a block where I've put some ink, and you might be able to see that, or you might not, but there's also a gloopy bit in the corner, and I'll show you what that is as we get going. Alrighty. Oh, and I also have one of the new stamp pads. This is the Soft Seafoam. I'm going to take forever to learn these new ink colours. Soft Seafoam is one of my favourite new ones that's out of the Subtles collection. I'm not normally a Subtles girl, I'm a Brights girl, but I have to say I am enjoying the Soft Seafoam quite a lot. Okay, so let's get started with the basic technique, and I'm not going to show you necessarily all of it, or if I do I might speed the video up so you don't see me just sitting here doing bits. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to actually do some masking, and I've done this in advance, but I'll show you one quick time. So masking means that you get a foreground image and then background images. So you see that some of these lily pads have been stamped behind this one and behind this one. So that technique is called masking. And I have created and stuck on the inside of my stamp set 4 masks, okay, which you will see have got various different bits of things cut out of them. So 3 flower ones and just a lily pad one. So to create those, I just inked up my whole stamp here, just roughly, made sure I got the edges, and take that off just in case there's anything left. And then you need the bottom piece. You need a small post-it pad, and you want the bottom piece to be the no, you want the flowers to be the stickiest bit. That's what I got wrong beforehand. So you want as much of the flower as possible on the top where the sticky is. Okay, you can see I haven't cleaned my stamp very well. Just moving on from that. Okay, so then you take your sticky note, and I'm not going to do all of this, but I'm just going to show you a bit. What you're going to do is you're going to cut this out, okay, and you are actually going to cut out all of the little bits and pieces, but I trim a bit off to make it easier. So you're going to cut round the edge. You don't have to be perfect, because it doesn't actually matter if a few things kind of bleed onto it. You just want it close enough. Don't cut too far inside the lines, but if you go over, it's not massively important. But you just need to make sure that you're cutting all the way around the flowers, really. It's not... don't get too hung up on it, okay? Just chop in. I don't know why I'm doing them like this. I did them the other way before. Stop it. So I did... go away. Getting sticky with it. So I just did this, and I kind of just went round and round and up and down around the edge of the lily pad. So you've got a little bit of that there going on, okay? Okay, so that's how you make a mask, and that's how you make a mask for any card, you know, whatever the shape, size, image that you're doing, that's what you do. You just cut round one image, and that's your mask, okay, the image that you want to be in front. And I'll show you the reason why we've done all of that now, because it's important so you understand. Because what you're going to do is you're going to stamp the image that is closest to you in view. So you're going to stamp... I actually started with this one here, so you're going to stamp this image here, because that's the one that's in the foreground, which it's counterintuitive really, because you think you'd start with the one furthest away, but you don't. You start with the one that's closest. In fact, I'm going to just give this a little spritz, because I've been messing with my colours, so let's just clean that off. Make sure it's nice and clean. There we go. Okay, so I actually started with my green, my granny apple green. I did my stem and all of the lily pads. You have to kind of work out where the flower ends and where the lily pad starts. But once you've got that in your head, it's fairly simple. Then the rest of it is just your flower. So that's just going to be coloured in with your powder pink. Just make sure, or just be as careful as you can around the join lines, that you're not pulling green into pink and pink into green, if you see what I mean. But if you get a little bit, who cares, it's handmade, and it's kind of got that watery look to it anyway, so it's good. Alrighty, so then you may want to, if it looks a bit dry, just breathe on it, or huff on it, as people say. Oh, look, I've got a bit of sticky stuff there stuck. Right, just breathe on it so that you can get the ink flowing again. And then just pick where you want to have your central point and stamp. All right, and then you repeat. But the next time you repeat, I did it further down just to get my eye in, really, in terms of where I needed it to be, or where I wanted it to come down to on a focal point. There we go. So the next one I did actually sat here. I thought, yeah, I want that to be there. Quite close, but not actually overlapping. Yeah? Oh, I think I did that a bit low. Yeah, never mind, it'll be fine. So the next thing you do, oh, and I've missed a few. Okay, so look, here we go. Can you see that? I've missed a few there. Shocking. But the good news is that these pens come with double ends, and the other end is very handy for drawing back in the flowers that you missed off. Is that all of them that I missed off? Yeah, I might have missed another one. No, that looks... Oh yeah, I missed that one. There we go. There. Okay. And another little one at the back there. Right, so once that's done, you're then going to take your mask and you're going to lay it over your flowers that you've stamped. Oops, make sure it's angled correctly so it covers them all. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing again, but start stamping your flowers behind. So now you're starting to build up the depth of the photograph. But it's the same in photography, you know, you see things behind and you see depth of field and stuff. That's what I was kind of going with there, that you're looking behind your first image to see the image that's behind the one in front. So I'm just going to make sure I don't miss any of my fronds this time, my petals. Make sure I get them all. And yeah, this takes a little time, but I think it's worth it because they're all going to be slightly different depending on where you put your first image. Okay, so now you're going to go in and make sure you don't hit this one. Actually, I think I did 2 at this point. Yeah, let me try to do this one. We don't want to hit that one. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to do this one, and it kind of overlaps both. So you're just going to stamp straight up and straight down on both of them. And hold it a little bit longer. Don't be tempted to rock it. Just hold it a little bit longer so that you get the it coming behind, because you've got to go past that little sticky bit there. And when you lift that bit off, you can see now that I've got flowers coming behind. See that? And this piece here didn't quite get the granny apple green going because it wasn't on the, it was, you know, the edge of the post-it note has a height which will lift the rubber slightly, so you just need to carry that along there and carry that along there. Okay, and that one actually we've just missed. Okay, so the next one we're going to pop this back down again, and this one I did right across both of these, so now we need to mask this one off as well. And so you're just building up this picture behind. So then you're going to go back in again, and I only did 4 flowers, and that's an odd number, which is unlike me, but actually it seemed to fit with how it was flowing. There didn't seem to be, I didn't seem to have room to put a 5th. I didn't really want to start again because I couldn't see how I would actually fit a 5th one in there without them looking too crowded. And whilst water lilies do, you know, jumble up in the middle of a pond then and overlap each other, I think it would be too crowded to do another one. So this one, make sure you got everything. Yeah, we're just going to come back down, and this time I came in here. And again, it's not about squishing too hard, it's just about holding it and making sure that it's getting past the post-it notes. There we go. So then as we lift these ones off, we can see there that there's a couple of bits where it's just not come down. We just need to add a few extra lines in here so it looks a bit more full. I think that's about it though. I don't think I've missed anything else. There might have been a green thing, but I think it was coming behind here. So no, I think that's fine. So it doesn't look quite the same though as that one at this point, but that's okay because we've not finished. All right. I would have preferred that one to be just slightly higher, but that's just me. And I will amend that in the next one. Right, so now we get to the next bit, which is to do this background piece. Because now what we want to do is cover up everything and sort the background out. So we go back in with all of our mats and layers in our, should we do, yeah, no, I need it, I'm going to need all 4 this time because of the way it's gone. So that one needs to go there. Yep, that one needs to come across here. This one needs to come across here. Last time I managed to get away with it with just doing 2 of the flower ones and then 1 of these, but I'm going to need to do all of them because they didn't go in exactly the same place. But they're not ever going to go in exactly the same place unless I use my Stamparatus, and I didn't want to do that for this because This is a bit more hands-on, this one. Right, okay. So now that's all nice and safely covered up. Now you need to get in this. And this is the nice wavy water. And we're going to start with our new ink pads, which open this way. She says. They can be a little stiff, and this is the new one. And then they slide and lock. Okay, so that's it. And you can see they're a little bit shallower. Okay, so I wanted to have a soft seafoam base, and I wanted to make sure that was really nicely inked up, which it is. Notice there's no bubbling because there's the new defoamer in there, which is good. And then with the soft seafoam, I wanted to add just a little bit, a few touches of balmy blue, which I know you're going, oh, you're mixing your ink, but if you do that, it comes off quite quickly and you don't actually stain your pen. And then I thought, if we put a few dashes of granny apple green in there as well, that's also okay, because it mixes and works with the granny apple green base to the lily pads. Okay, so then I chose this as my end, made sure my card was straight, although these lines are wiggly, so it doesn't actually matter, but you know, you want to be straightish and you want to know where the end is, and then you just stamp down, remembering again this bit here is going to go over a mask. Okay, and then I took it one layer up whilst it was still inked to get the next generation and see how that went. Now what you'll find is it's really faint, but this bit's quite okay because this bit's been not inked up because it's been lifted slightly. So I thought, okay, yeah, I don't really like that, I need to have a bit more, so we're going to have to go in again, which is fine. And so I just wanted to show you that I tried that and it didn't actually do what I wanted it to do, so I had to go back in and do my own thing. Okay, so sometimes inking and stamping off works great, other times, yeah, not so much. So I'll put a bit of that in. Oop, rub it off. Okay, so again, this time I went in full strength, straight in. Doesn't matter if you overlap, in fact that's quite handy because it gives a bit more texture. Make sure you're getting good pressure. Lift off, see we're coming up now. But then I wanted it to start to go a bit fainter, so I thought, well, I will try just doing these edges again because it's just the edges that I'm after here, and see how that goes. And yeah, it still didn't work, but it's going to add more depth in those, just in those places, and actually that's what I wanted. So next up I did the whole thing again. Sorry if I'm jogging you. And I went back in again, bit of balmy blue, bit of granny apple green, and it doesn't really matter where you're putting these as long as you're just being random with it. This time I stamped it once and then went in again and stamped it. So now I'm getting the second generation, but I've stamped the first generation on here. So there's no gaps from the masks as I lift it up. There we go. But see the bits I did before? It just looks like the water playing, the light playing on the water, so I was quite happy with that. So here, this is a bit bulky, and I think this is stopping it stamping as well as it could do. So I'm just going to take the one underneath off because we've kind of done with that flower now. We're not worried about that one anymore. So we'll take that off. We'll leave this one in place just in case I come down a bit too low, and then we'll leave this one in place because obviously we do want to not stamp on that one, and then we'll do the whole thing again. And because I'm stamping it off twice, you can see nothing's transferring onto my ink pad, so that's great. So we go back in again, do a little bit more of the blue, and I'm adding a little bit more of the blue because we're now coming up to that sort of horizon line. So I just want to make sure that we're merging the colours at this point. A bit more of the green, and again stamp off. And they're such subtle colours that even the stamping off, you know, it goes really faint straight away. So we do that. There we go. Isn't that nice? And then this time I'm going to go again just to see how far I can get with this. And the answer is not very far, because it's just such a faint colour that it is actually there, but it's so faint you can hardly see it. So I'm going to go back in, and this time I'm going to do not go over any of the stuff that I've done before. Add a bit more blue. Not add any green at this point. No granny apple comes in this one. And then stamp off again. And this time down and up. And then I think just keep stamping until you're happy with it, basically. Quite happy with that. That's looking all right. So this is the water coming across here, the light on the water. So when you're happy with your gradiated lines, you then pick off all your masks. Okay. And once you take your masks off, you'll start to see some gaps. We don't need this anymore. Look how easy these are. You just pull them, flip them, and they're done. Closed, gone, out of the way. Whoops. Okay, so that's gone. So now you can see that that's kind of similar to that. It's not quite the same. I did a bit more blue up here actually. So now you can see that even though we've tried to be, you know, really good and get the gaps and get inside the gaps and everything, there are still gaps here, which kind of makes the flowers look like they've got a little bit of a halo around them. So I like to go in, and because it's a stamp that's just random, sort of random lines, you can just fill these in, and it's such a faint colour that you don't realise that they look any different to how the actual stamp should look. It's slightly harder sometimes when you're trying to do what would be harder, something like a sunset, but you know, you can brayer that in, but if you're doing it with a stamp, sometimes that can be a bit harder to get it right. But you know, just practice. And then this one didn't seem to get any kind of lines, so we'll add a bit of lines there. And we can maybe add a little bit of the blue, just very gently, just to add in so it feels joined up. When it feels joined up, stop. Okay, then the next thing you're going to do is we're now going to do our blender penning, and we're going to actually colour in our lily pads. So again, I may speed this up when I finish my video, but I'm just going to show you for now what I did. So right marker straight to acrylic block, and this gloopy bit here is this vegetable glycerin. I told you about this before. I did another video on vegetable glycerin and blender pens, and I do like how it's working with these with this lovely granny apple green and the new colours. So you're just going to mix the two together. It just gives you a little bit more movement than a blender pen on its own would give you. And you're going to come in quite bold, not bold enough, quite bold with the colours, because you want them to really stand out from the background, and if you go too pale, they don't stand out. You want it dark where it should be dark, which is basically anything underneath underneath, I'll get my teeth in a minute, anything underneath foliage, flowers, that will be darker than something that's in the sun in the edge. So there we go. So that's now got our lily pads in. Happy. They're looking okay, aren't they? Then we're going to go with our wording. And this again, oh, I didn't clean that off, just in case you were wondering. Just wipe it on the paper. Can't remember which end I used, but you know, seafoam. I mean, granny apple green's not actually that bad. So this stamp set actually says, thinking of you with loving thoughts and prayers, and there are some people that I would send that to, but there are some people I definitely would not send that to. So I thought, but I would send thinking of you to pretty much everybody. So, you know, as long as I liked them and I was thinking of you and wanting to send them hugs or something, there's quite a lot of people that I'd send that to. So I thought, if I just colour in the thinking of you bit, then I just get the thinking of you sentiment. And I love rubber stamps for that. I think they're much easier to do this with than the photopolymer even, because they just seem easier to see where the words are. So you're just going to do the thinking of you, give it a huff, and then I'm not really worried about it being straight or not. That one certainly wasn't straight. That one's actually straighter, so there we go. And that's it. That's your front piece done. Then what I did was I coloured a piece of the Whisper White sheer ribbon with my, you'll have seen me do this with alcohol markers, again with the blends, but you can actually still do it with your white markers too, because it's a dye ink. So there you go, you can just dye your ribbon and then pop that across there. So simple and easy to do, but just means that everything you've got coordinates. So even if we don't sell a ribbon that is exactly the right colour, you can make it the right colour if you buy the right markers. So popping this on the back. Again, for something like this is a nice light ribbon, so snail works great for this. And then I'll follow it up with a bit of Tombow to just, multi-purpose glue just to keep it there. Take it from the back, wrap it around the front. Yeah, I definitely didn't leave myself enough room with this one. That's okay. Doesn't have to all be exactly the same. There we go. Use my grid paper to line it up. So basically I put the paper lined up with one of the lines, and then I match the ribbon to make sure that the ribbon lines up with one of those lines there, and this with this here. You've seen me do that lots of times. Okay, so that's that. And then this one I did balmy sea and there again, soft sea foam. I keep wanting to call it soft sky, that's why. Soft sea foam for the green at the back and balmy blue. However, because we've used Granny Apple Green here, we could make it with that. So I have another piece of cardstock here, which I'm just going to... Normally I do them both at the same time, but I obviously missed this one. So score this. Score this. Not cut, score. I'm scoring at 14.8 and a half. And then I fold that over in half to give me my base. There we go. And then if you pop the Granny Apple Green on there, let's do that. I think those two colours look great together. And I will be sharing some more colour coordinating options over the next few weeks as we all get used to the new colours that are coming out, because they're just such lovely new colours. And they work well together with each other, but also with ones we've already got. And then a little bit of, make sure you get a bit of multi-purpose glue over the ends of your ribbon just to hold it in place, because it does need to be held. And I just did a little squiggly in the middle. You don't need much on this because it's just a one layer card. And then pop that down on there like that. Now that, I think, gives a completely different look. That's much brighter and bolder than this one. But I like both of them, so there you go. And then to do this bit down here is very simple. Oops, throw the reel of twine at me. Pop your twine in, tie it, and you can cut it, but it's easier if you do it on the reel, because then you know how much you've got and you can always get a bit of extra if you need it. I do not need that much. There we go. I'm going to do a queen pip bow. So you're going to take this, loop it over your finger, hold it with your thumb, take that through and under. It's actually easier to see with ribbon than it is to see with twine, but there we go. Pull it through so you've got stuff to work with, and then you want it to sit that way. So to do that, work it this way. Might need to bring that smaller. that smaller. Don't worry about the ends at the moment, just get the actual bow correct. Then what you do is you go in with a little glue dot, one of our mini glue dots. Oops, missed one there. Lift it off with your pierce tool, and I placed it just underneath the ribbon where I wanted that bow to sit. And then when you chop your ends off, you can get your ends to come and sit nicely underneath. You just need to wiggle them around a bit. So you can wiggle it around a bit and then glue it into place. There we go. And then they play ball. Alright, so I thought the bow kind of echoed the Lilypad theme and then brings us to that nice odd number of 5. Although I don't think the oddness shows up too much on this card, which is nice. So there you go. Not a very quick video, but hopefully a quick masking technique video to show you how to create those lovely lily pads going in a row, and a bit of glycerin work with some blender pens so you get some nice colour going on as well. So there it is. Thanks very much for watching. All the details are in the description below. All of these products are available, so you can grab your baskets, check it out. All the links, as I say, are below for everything, so just click and you'll go straight to my shop, and then you can pop them in your basket and you too can be making some pretty Lilypad thinking of you cards, and I'd love to see what you make. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. See you again soon. Bye for now.